Warning, this video contains spoilers for the Attack on Titan manga and its ending. Again, spoilers for the Attack on Titan manga ending. You have been warned. Howdy, Space Rangers, Captain Phoenix here. Now, if you've been a fan of my channel for a while, then you know that I love Attack on Titan. Hell, I obsess over it. I think it's the greatest TV show ever made, what with its beautiful animation, awe-inspiring music, fantastic story, and amazing world building. What's not to love? In fact, I love it so much that once season 4 part 2 ended, I actually read the manga it's based on so I could complete the story. Now, while we wait for part 3 to come out so I can make my review and video essay on why this show is the greatest piece of media of all time, I did want to talk about one scene from the anime. One scene which, while not my favorite, does capture everything I love about Attack on Titan. And I'm going to discuss why I love this scene and to an extent why I love this show so much. This scene is none other than Erwin's last charge.
Soldiers do not buckle or yield when faced with the cruelty of this world. My soldiers push forward. My soldiers scream out. My soldiers rage!
In order to truly describe why I love this scene so much, I gotta describe the actual scene itself. So, for context, the alien soldiers are pinned down. The Beast Titan is killing them by the dozen. Rocks upon rocks are showering upon them. It seems that all hope is lost. However, Erwin comes up with a plan to beat the Beast Titan. He and the soldiers would act as a distraction while Levi attacks from the behind. And after giving an inspirational speech, he and the soldiers all ride out into battle one last time, as they are all, except for one, this being Flock, wiped out. The animation is bright and beautiful, the tensions are high, the music makes you want to go to war, and our favorite characters are on their last legs. But, one could argue, there are other scenes like that in this show. So, what's so special about this one? Well, for that, we have to look deeper as to why this scene works so well, and how I'm going to defend Erwin's death, because yes, Erwin's death is important to the large overall story. This, I think, is the most important part of this scene. Thus, I think it should be highlighted the most, and it's going to take a lot of this video. This scene basically explains to us how Isayama writes idealism and nihilism. He, like me, sees that stories revolving around nihilism or people enjoy nihilistic stories, and masking it as realistic just doesn't work. For context, back in the 90s and I guess 80s and early 2000s, stories, especially comics, were trying to be more realistic by being more dark, having more deaths, and being littered with unhappy endings, and just generally being cruel to the characters who live in those stories, and this was typically known as grim dark. So comics like this would include like Venom, The Punisher, and to an extent The Boys, but as far as I'm concerned, The Boys was like made in the early 2000s, so it still counts. But all these stories were grim dark. They all just kind of were very nasty stories in these nasty worlds. This can, of course, work in some cases, very prominently in adult cartoons such as Rick and Morty and Family Guy. However, I'd argue for those shows it's different, because with those shows, the joy of watching them is seeing these characters come together and having some common ground with each other in a weird, delightful, sick, twisted way. And it makes sense as these shows do primarily focus on comedy. In most nihilistic stories though, the world it's set in is just filled with horrible stories, horrible characters, and horrible endings. Not that these stories are bad, it's when I mean horrible, I mean in-universe, like no one enjoys living in these worlds. These are the stories that I don't personally enjoy, so to me, I would say they're not great stories, but I know everyone has their own cup of tea with them. I don't really enjoy them personally, as there's no story or character to get involved in. There's no end goal that our characters are working towards, and it's just a bunch of, characters complaining about how the world sucks and there's nothing they can do about it, and they don't want to do anything to try and change it. But that's the beauty of Attack on Titan, and it's something Isayama realizes. He realizes he can't get lost in his own story, or in his own world. The story comes first. And so I like how Attack on Titan walks this fine line between power fantasy and nihilism. Attack on Titan is very much set in a nihilistic world. It's basically an apocalypse. I mean, look at the concept of this show. Titans have eaten everyone in the world, and humanity is confined to its walls. Even in season 4, when the walls open up, we see that the world is even more cruel than the Titans, and they want our main characters deader than dead. Basically, the world of Attack on Titan is horrible and scary. No true fan would ever say they want to live in this universe. So, if I don't like grim dark / nihilistic stories, then why do I love this show so much? Well, it's Erwin's charge that clicked in my head. While the world is nihilistic, the characters aren't. The core of these characters are very idealistic. Their beliefs and values feel as if they wouldn't be tolerated by the world it's set in. And that's the point. Armin's goal is that he wants to live in a world where everyone can get along and talk through their problems. Aaron's main goal is that he wants all Titans to die. He wants to live in a world where he and his friends can go or do whatever they want without being confined by the walls of both Eldia and the outside world. Mikasa wants to live happily ever after with Eren. And Erin's goal is that he wants to learn more about the world. So where does Erin's charge come into this? Well, in that scene, we have Erwin giving up all his hopes and dreams for the sake of the mission. Or, in Levi's words,
I'll make the choice for you. Give up on your dream and charge to your death. Lead those crying children straight to hell.
Erwin dies so that the other characters can succeed for him. He dies so that they can unlock the secrets of the Titan for him. TLDR, Erwin's charge isn't a suicide charge, or the story saying that nihilism or realism always wins in the end. It's an actual sacrifice. Erwin gives his life so that his friends can achieve their idealistic goal. His idealistic goal. But here's the kicker. While most idealistic stories disguise themselves as realistic, Isayama works extra hard not to do that. Case in point, Levi versus Zeke. The idealistic route to go with this would have been to kill Zeke or feed him to Erwin, like turn her into a Titan and feed Zeke to him. But he escapes, only to fight Levi another day, and also ensuring that Levi couldn't fulfill Erwin's last request. This means, in an essence, Zeke kind of won. Now, while most would call this realistic, which it sort of is, it's also inspiring. This scene alone gives us Levi's character arc for the next season. Kill the Beast Titan. Even Flock has a character arc. Because of Erwin's sacrifice, he learns that he just can't sit back anymore. He needs to act and do something with his life. Basically, Erwin's death was the reason the rumbling was able to be stopped. Because of Levi's determination, he was able to kill Zeke and stop the rumbling. But it's also the reason why it began. A great demonstration of idealism versus nihilism. And notice how our characters react after Erwin's death. If Attack on Titan was truly nihilistic, Eren wouldn't feel the need to end the world, as he would feel that he and his people were destined to death with no happiness in their lives whatsoever. Armin wouldn't have stopped the rumbling if he didn't think there was another way. And Erwin wouldn't have given his life at the charge, as self-preservation would have been his priority. Basically, all these characters did the things they did in the story because they were driven by idealism, if even so slightly. But of course, we gotta talk about the most iconic part of Erwin's last charge. Zone, why this speech is so iconic and remembered to this day. This speech kind of touches on the whole idealism versus nihilism talk as I was going on about earlier. Erwin's speech starts off bleak and hopeless, with him telling his soldiers that they were going to die anyway, that whether or not they leave, no one's coming out of this alive. However, just as things seem at their lowest, he turns around and says that they cannot give up. Not after everything they've been through and all the people who died on their behalf. Not to mention, he asks these people to join him into battle. He doesn't order them, he doesn't demand them. He asks them to join him into battle so that they can go out one last glorious time and to have their memories carried by their friends who will, of course, carry on their legacy.
Because my soldiers do not buckle or yield when faced with the cruelty of this world. My soldiers push forward. My soldiers scream out. My soldiers rage!
Also, I only realized this recently, but when Erwin tells his soldiers to fire their smoke guns to block the Beast Titan's vision, he didn't mean it for them, or that Zeke would be missing them, because he's blinded by the smoke. He meant it for Levi. The smoke was to prevent the Beast Titan's vision from catching Levi's sneak attack. Guys, again, this show is so freaking brilliant. And of course, this brings us to here. This was one of the most controversial arcs in the entire Attack on Titan show / fandom. And I'm here to say that killing Erwin was the right choice.
Kill it! Kill it with fire!
Let me explain. For one, Erwin's death affected many characters: Levi, Flock, Hanchi, Armin, and even to an extent, Eren. I mean, think about it. Eren died the same way Erwin did. He died in the pursuit of a better, more free world, and while he may not get to live that free life, his friends will live and enjoy it for him. And I don't think the story would have worked as well as it would have if Armin died. If Armin died, the only people who would have been affected would have been Eren and Mikasa. This would have resulted in Eren not holding back and destroying the world out of fear instead of love for his friends. He wouldn't have given humanity the chance or hope of becoming better. Basically, Erwin's death softened Eren up. The Eren we see in the anime and manga is the best case scenario. This is coming from a what if video, by the way. On top of all that, another reason why I defend Erwin's death is because, put it simply, Erwin was living in the past. As of that point in time, he had already given up on his dream, and he was reliving childhood memories. If he were brought back to fulfill his dream, his sacrifice would not have had as big of an impact on the story as it would take away from other characters like Armin, who didn't live his dream of going to the ocean, nor was given the chance to reject it like Erwin did. The reason Erwin's last charge is so iconic and everyone remembers it is because he died. And that's what everyone is missing, I think. A lot of people say Erwin should have survived, but are you telling me they would be fighting this hard or they would be feeling this way if they did not experience his death? Really? I honestly think that by Erwin dying and that scene being plastered in everyone's mind, it made us understand the kind of character he was, but also important that he did die and doesn't come back in order for the story to progress as it should. Again, no one would be praising Erwin this much if he did survive, and he did have a big part to play in Season 4. Levi knew that by going to the basement and killing Zeke, he would be fulfilling Erwin's last wishes. But Armin, he didn't leave anything behind, and he didn't ask Eren to do it for him. He wanted to see the sea himself. Eren telling Levi of Armin's plight is what pushed him to finally save Armin. Basically, Erwin's story was complete. Armin's was not, and I get so confused by so-called Attack on Titan fans who send death threats to Isayama telling him that he's in the wrong. Guys, it's his story. Let him tell it how he wants to. And the fact that he had to write Levi double downing and saying he doesn't regret anything to shut the fans up is both cool and frustrating. In conclusion, Erwin's last charge is a beautiful scene that captures the heart and soul of Attack on Titan and is just another reason why I love this show so much. Everything about this scene was perfect, from the action to the animation to the music and the voice acting, and finally to the themes and message that make Attack on Titan so brilliant. Thank you guys so very much for watching. I worked extra hard on this video, so I would appreciate it if you could like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, and share with your friends. Leave a comment down below as to which Attack on Titan scene captures the essence of the show for you, or heck, which is your favorite scene in general for just, I don't know, just because. Until next time, I've been Captain Phoenix, and with that, I will see you in another universe. Goodbye, my Rangers.